All right, there's a train going by. I'm gonna show you some of what I got going on in here. Um, there's a lot of stuff to catch a plastic bag on. So I tore open a couple of plastic bags when I was taking out the trash. And most of it's all over my floor now. Um, I got a couple more bags and I started picking it up again this morning. But that's not what I got to show. Um, Matter of fact, I'm gonna unplug my computer from the wall outlet. Wall outlet. Power strip. All right, so let's show you what I'm working with. It's a little riding lawnmower, and it did not work when all four of the tires were flat. And matter of fact, there's a pile of tires here. Let me. Yeah, these little dinky tires should not take that much. This right here is one of the rear tires that was on it before. It's really not that heavy. It's just I'm in a lot of pain. So I replaced those little dinky ones. I replaced with. Oh, hell. I gotta wipe the dust off of this, and hopefully it won't down. Oh yeah, I can see what I'm looking at. That's a truck tire off of a Dodge. Yes, I replaced that little dinky thing with a truck tire off of a Dodge. Now, why did I do that? Well, because trying to fill up those tires is expensive. I got to fill them up with that expanding foam. And those bottles aren't cheap, and they also don't necessarily expand inside of those tires as well as they could. I was just showing you. I mean, it's. Let me show you this one. See this coming out of it? Yeah, that's expanding foam. See how it's got this big divot in it? Yeah, that tire ain't no good. And although I could fill it up entirely with expanding foam and it'll hold, it'll take 4 bottles of that at $6 a bottle. That's $24. I was able to get both of those truck tires for $20. Those truck tires work. They are bigger, so I can actually travel faster, which is pretty cool. That lady whose farm that I went out to and Chris Kurth came out and threatened me, she found a bicycle in the garbage can. I can't ride it. Let her know that I can't get on the thing, but she insisted that I take it. Showed me that it's got, inner tubes that are solid core. Oh my god, I need a new fucking back. This part right here, I'm having problems seeing what I'm pointing this at. Sun's right in my eyes. If I dip down, this is the top that usually goes on that. It doesn't fit because the tires are too big, and that's why I got that piece of plywood there for a seat. This right here, that's the bicycle, and there's some other stuff in there too. There's a bunch of empty propane tanks. There's one over there that's actually got the brass valve off the top. So that's the first one that I'm going to cut open as soon as I get the equipment to do so. I got another one over here that's full, but it's attached to my propane burner. It would have been nice to have that this winter, but I got that from Big J. I'm thankful I got it. Oh, yeah. I just killed some hornets. Those things sting me. And of course, this is my Harley Davidson. Isn't that beautiful? It's I got that for $250. Now that lady out at the farm, she gave me this because it didn't work. It was all broken. It's a motion detector light. It doesn't work at all during the day. But about 45 minutes before it gets real dark, about 45 minutes before the sun comes down, that light will turn on. And as long as the vehicle is moving, the light stays on. And as soon as I park it, as long as I park it here where there's not a lot of motion, the light turns off after a couple of minutes. And I had to replace a belt on it yesterday. And there's a gentleman in town who loaned me $20 until the 1st. That was so that I could get food and stuff. Really, the most important part was getting transportation. And although that's my transportation now, because I put those 2 tires on the John Deere, if this thing stops working, I still got the John Deere. If the John Deere stops working, I still got this thing. That way I don't have to borrow from people. I mean, that sucks. You know, I worked almost the whole time I was homeless, and everything that I worked for was stolen from me over and over and over and over again. And people tell me, oh, well, you know, you just need to work harder. Yeah, yeah, that'll do it. If you work harder at a minimum wage job, you're just going to work yourself to death when you're homeless. Because you're never going to make enough money at a minimum wage job to get on homeless without the police harassment. Hey, Seagull SB type, still breathing air is what I meant. I wish I could tell you all would be better. Well, all will be better if we work together. If we stop pretending that our group is more important than anyone else's group, because we're all part of the same group, we're all human beings. We need to stop pretending that black people are better than white people or white people are better than black people. We need to stop teaching our kids that boys are stupid and girls are dumb. The thing is, we got a lot of lack of respect. For me, I got a different mentality than most of y'all. Most of y'all say, well, you got to earn my respect. I disagree with that. I will respect you until you give me a reason not to. If I am disrespectful to you, you earned that shit. Anyway, this thing has been a work in progress. As soon as I get paid, I am going to be changing the color from this ugly blue to a hot pink. Brightest pink possible. And of course, that big ass horse trailer behind me. Altogether, between the Harley I'm sitting on, the horse trailer, and the John Deere, we're still looking at less than $1,000 worth of property. And I have to make sure I own less than $2,000 worth of property. Now, if we go looking at my tools, we're probably looking at, if they were all brand new, probably about $2,000 worth of property there alone. But lucky for me, none of my tools are new. Let's take a look at my tool collection here. This right here is a Milwaukee Sawzall. About years ago or so, I took that Milwaukee Sawzall out to Amanda Payne's house out in the country. There's a gentleman here in town. I just recently found out that the place they were saying belonged to him. And he was telling me about what they did out there. And, well, it don't surprise me. They really screwed him over, too. Same as they screwed me over. Now, that's not the only used tool that I have. I have a drill press over there that I bought for $107, and I could have gotten a brand new one, same company, same model, 130. So I didn't exactly get used prices. I got sale prices on a brand new thing if it had been brand new. I'm still glad to have it. Now, if they came through to try to audit all of my stuff, they might look at my important essentials and go, "Oh, well, that's more than you're allowed to have." Then again, there's not a lot of new stuff in here. This I bought brand new. What's that for? It's for cooking. You might consider that a toy. You might consider my John Deere a toy. You might consider my Harley a toy. I got a pretty fucked up back. So whether or not you consider it a toy does not detract from the fact that it's an essential in my life. For me, having to go to Pumpkin Pantry and eat because I can't go to the store, buy everything that I need, and just carry it home. Now that I have that Harley Davidson, come the first, when I get paid again, I'll be able to go get some groceries. And a week later, my food stamps come in, I'll be able to spend some of that money on food and actually be able to get a full load of food. But then again, with this whole COVID thing going on and me having to wait to even get a fridge, there's a lot of stuff that I'm limited on. Like a lot of the healthy stuff that I should be getting, I'm not able to get. Between eating a GMO burger from Pumpkin Pantry and cooking my own hamburger, I'd rather cook my own hamburger. It's healthier. Every moment of every day, I want my life to end. I'm still trying because I keep hoping that somebody will get it through their head and try to understand that without someone speaking up for me, literally the only thing that I can do to end this is to continue to break the law, try to force law enforcement to take a look at this. I tried doing it every other way. I tried doing what it is they teach you when you're kids that you're supposed to do. When you're being bullied, you go to the bully and ask him to stop. If that doesn't work, or actually, if the source of the bullying is a rumor, you go to the source of the rumor and ask them to put a stop to it. I did that. I asked the people who were harassing me, threatening me, and assaulting me to stop. I got a hold of the source of those rumors, Natalie Bollinger, Alicia Bollinger, and Maddie Boa. And I got a hold of them to ask them to put a stop to it. But they didn't care. AC Gillespie typed, I have been on a self-destruction mission. I have issues. Yeah, we all got issues, don't we? We all need help. Anyway, I'm going to go try driving my tractor around. It's leaking fuel real bad. I don't know where at exactly, so I'm going to have to try to come up with some hose clamps or something. For right now, it'll have to sit, but that's all right. The Harley is working, so I can drive it for the time being, and hopefully I won't have any more issues with it until at least the first of the month. A lot of the issue that I have here in Chapel, Nebraska is that I really don't have anything in common with most of these folks. I don't hate black people. I don't hate immigrants. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a meth addict. I don't belong here. Boulder, Colorado was my home. Boulder, Colorado was the one place where I was allowed to be me. Boulder was the one place where I wasn't eternally victimized for being different. Boulder is the one place my entire life that people actually accepted me despite the fact that I'm different. There's a lot of people who claim that they understood, claim that they would help me. They knew what kind of help that I needed and they understood what I was telling them. But when you're an alcoholic or a meth addict, you don't know what the fuck I'm saying. It's not even registering to you. Your brain is suffering from a lack of oxygen, and you're talking to me like you have just become God after your third glass of wine. You have just become the all knowing who can fix everything, slurred words and spit. AC Gillespie typed, I'm not sure why I do it, but I do. I am alone and have been for years. No friends. Get that. You know, my family's always been shit, but I thought I had some good friends. Turns out that all those people who claimed they were my friends were too cowardly to speak up, too dishonest to even be honest with me, promising to help me, but not following through. Meanwhile, that's taking advantage of a disabled person. You're taking advantage of someone who can't take care of themselves. You are wasting their time and their resources with promises. And when you've taken everything they have to give, you're done with them. You throw them away like they're trash. You treat them like they're bad people because they're pissed off that you just ripped them the fuck off. Tabitha Cook got away with about $2,000 worth of my tools just because her boyfriend didn't keep his word. And when I checked her boyfriend for not keeping his word, Tabby wanted to treat me like shit. Well, fuck you, Tabby. If your bitch ass, fake ass, wannabe Christian boyfriend can't fucking wipe his own ass, can't fess up to his own fuck ups, then you're a cunt for defending him. You're a fucking piece of shit for defending him. This is the same dude who, with your last boyfriend, this dude was your last boyfriend's best friend. Obviously, this guy ain't got the loyalty God gave a fucking sewer rat. He's a Christian. No, the fuck he isn't. He's a fucking faker. But, of course, you can't tell a woman that the penis that she's allowing to get stuffed into her is attached to a fucking piece of shit. Otherwise, you're the bad guy. I was talking with two gentlemen this morning about situations like that. Both of them agreed that you never rescue a woman, ever, under any circumstances. If a woman is in an abusive relationship, you leave her the fuck there because she is 90% or better likely to go back with that asshole. And when she goes back with that asshole, then you are all of a sudden the scapegoat. She called you because he beat on her and she needed a rescue. And you showed up and you rescued her. But then she was lonely. She's lonely. AC Gillespie is lonely. But it's different when it's a woman, isn't it? We're supposed to feel sorry for her because she's got a vagina. Well, that's pretty fucked. We're supposed to just automatically assume that because she has a vagina that she must be the victim? Well, that's fucking horse shit. Now, on the bright side, I have a horse trailer that's full of tools and garbage. And I'd like to go use the garbage can over there, but they removed both of those, the ones that were on the city property. So there's a couple of garbage cans on the other side of the street, and I have been using them, but I try not to put too much in there because basically now we've got 5 people using one garbage can. And that's a big giant pain in the ass. But the thing is, just like with Jamie, how many times did I meet Jamie? It never happened. Not even once. You know how many times I've raised my voice to Jamie? Three. 3 times my entire life. By the way, all 3 of those were since Natalie died. Before that, I'd never yelled at her, never screamed at her, never raised my voice to her. But she's addicted to abuse, just like most of y'all. That boy hits you on the playground, and your parents try to brush it off and pretend like it's okay by saying, oh, well, he only hits you because he likes you. No, he hit you because he's a fucking asshole. That's why he hit you. But now your parents have just taught you that abuse is love. Being abused means that a man must really like you. So when you find an attractive man who treats you like shit, you will throw away every single person who has ever been loyal to you over that one penis. Here's a post that somebody posted up. A real man is going to change his ways for a girl he really wants to spend the rest of his life with. A real man, a real man. Why is it that all these women know more about what a real man is than men? Meanwhile, they can't even agree on what a real man fucking is. I've seen about 20 of these in the last couple of days, and they all say different shit. Now, a real man is going to change his ways for a girl. Well, hold on a second here. A real man doesn't want a girl. That was in one of these posts as well. A real man isn't interested in a girl. A real man wants a woman. But here, this one says a real man is going to change his ways for a girl he really wants to spend the rest of his life with. Huh. I typed a real man description has literally hundreds of different ideas of what men should be. I don't want to be with a girl. I want to be with a friend. And Mandy typed, that is true. This is true. I want a relationship without deceit, abuse, drugs, or booze. I want honesty, balance, respect, and trust. Now I'm going to hit the love button on that. All the people that I don't trust gave me reason not to trust them, or they're exhibiting the same behaviors as people who have taught me not to trust them. One of the main things that will make me not trust you is if you only text. If you can't have a conversation with me, an actual conversation, not this typing bullshit, but an actual conversation. If you're not interested in helping me, you're not interested in trying to understand, you're only interested in telling me how to think and how to feel, or interested in telling me about yourself. You can't help me if you're busy talking about yourself. See, that's why I was so good at helping people. Number one, most of those people that I was helping, and when I say those people, I'm not being racist. I'm talking about the homeless in specific, primarily, and they aren't any specific race, aren't any specific gender, aren't any specific religion. But as far as not freezing to death, I knew that when I encountered drunks, they needed to go to the warming center so they wouldn't freeze to death. I knew that because as a homeless person, I know the experience of that cold weather and what it can do to you. I also know there aren't enough beds for all the homeless people, which is why I passed out blankets for years. That doesn't matter, though, does it? It doesn't matter how good of a person I was because of the slander by the Bollinger family. Meanwhile, with the police refusing to take a report no matter what, no matter What? I literally had to break the law to defend myself and to defend my loved ones, many of whom stabbed me in the back. A lesbian type very well said, big difference between a girl and a woman. Yeah, there is. But I want you guys to take a look at all of the different descriptions of what a real man is. A real man will change for that girl, right? But then when it's the other way around, it's if he loved me, he wouldn't expect me to change. No, here's the thing, he loved who he thought you were. And then once you got him, you changed. When he decided that you were getting too clingy and too stalkerish, he left you, and then you stalked him all fucking crazy status and got your friends involved. Huh. Another thing we were talking about this morning, because one of these guys here knows Jamie Curtis, was the situation with Jamie and how fucked up she's been since high school. We talked about James, and well, James's conversation between him and I is on here as well. The thing with James, though, is that James and I we had agreed that we were going to wait until all this shit with Natalie was done and over with, and then we were going to discuss it as human beings, and we were going to sit down with Jamie and do it. That was James's plan. And it's a pretty damn good plan. Let's get down to the bottom of this. Jamie wasn't having none of it, though. Jamie's a player. Playing works easier if you can keep the two people that you're playing from talking to each other. The thing is, I wasn't the only one she was playing, and neither was James. Todd Harmon got played worse than, well, all right, Todd Harmon didn't get played worse than I did, but he definitely got played worse than James did. Todd Harmon didn't do anything to Jamie to deserve that shit. And as far as James goes, I guess that's debatable. The thing is that without somebody in my corner to fight for my rights, I will be victimized for the rest of my life, and as a result, I want my life to end. If I'm not allowed to show evidence, I'm not allowed to defend myself. Life isn't worth living. If I can't see my loved ones, life isn't worth living. I've already lived 39 years of abuse. How much more abuse should I have to go through before you guys recognize that I'm still a fucking human being? You don't like the way that I act after being abused by literally hundreds of people? There were well over 100 officers involved just in the state of Colorado. If I could get some help in person from somebody who could teach me how to do these computer things, help me to set it up, show me so that I can do myself. See, having to depend on others because my resources were taken because of crimes that I didn't even fucking commit. And all of my predators were able to use that to get away with their predatory actions. What Ken and Leah did to me, knowing that I'm disabled, knowing that I have a fixed income, knowing that I am jumping through every fucking hoop that I can. What they did was despicable, but they knew exactly what they were doing. And that's important to note. It's not like they screwed me over on their actions leading up to before Natalie was killed and also after show that they have no remorse. They just wanted an easy scapegoat and somebody who was easy to rip off. Meanwhile, you got to hear from Tabitha Michelle Cook and Miss Peaches that both of them were aware of Ken and Leah's drug dealing antics, and also the fact that there is a good possibility that Leah's son isn't actually autistic. There's a chance that he's got brain damage from contamination by drugs when he was younger. Tabitha talks about the Tonka truck that was filled with a bag of ecstasy. Leah's ex, her son's dad, conversation with him's on here on YouTube as well, where he talks about well, he'd like to do to Leah. They're not nice things. He also talks about the FBI in Boulder, Colorado, and he talks about a little bit about the no jacking policy, and also about people getting killed, their bodies being thrown in dumpsters. Did those people actually die? Yeah, they did. Were there actual bodies thrown in dumpsters? Yeah, there were. Was that all over the news? No. No, it wasn't. Why wasn't it all over the news? Because Boulder, Colorado doesn't want that kind of bad publicity because it will reduce the amount of greed that the rich are able to acquire. Midwest farmers' daughters from all over want to go to Boulder. CU Boulder. CU Boulder. Now, how many of those girls' parents would actually let them go to CU Boulder if they knew how many rapes there are every year that the police cover up because they don't want to have another fiasco like they had in the 90s? So you end up with people like Teresa Massilia, who gets raped and just has to take it because Boulder and their city council and their police department, their bottom line is your top dollar. That's right. You don't matter. You don't have a name to the government, you have a number. Just like the Jews at Auschwitz. You have a number. I hear all these Christians talking about the mark of the beast, the mark of the beast, the mark of the beast. Fucking give it a rest. Not one demon, not one angel, one. All the demons I know are people, all the angels I know are people too. It's based on their decisions. Real demons, fuck no, you make your decisions. You don't get to blame it on God. You don't get to blame it on the devil. You don't get to blame it on Jesus. You can if you want to, but that just makes you a liar and a piece of shit and a fucking excuse maker. I got to try to keep my mind busy, but I don't have the positivity that I need. You know, in Boulder, Colorado, I was a pretty happy person. I was allowed to be. There were people that I had a lot in common with. There were people I got to see every day. I got to establish a routine. But then again, men don't matter, especially not white men. By law, we have less rights than anyone else in America. White men have the least amount of rights of anyone in the country. It's because we have special rights for everybody but. See, Elias typed, your outlook on the Bible is based off your situation. Actually, my outlook on the Bible is based on reading it as a child. Me reading it, not having it interpreted for me by a biased asshole
claiming to be a man of God. The words in the Bible are in the order they're in for a reason. They're part of a greater story for a reason. When you pick out little bits and pieces that you want, well, now you're doing something wrong. A lot of people use a sermon that Jesus made as their excuse for hating homosexuals, for killing and murdering homosexuals. The Bible was used by the South to keep slavery almost 100 years after they said, hey, we'll work together on this. We'll keep slaves for now. And when the war is over, then we will do something to abolish slavery. Well, they didn't keep their word. So while the North went, all right, well, we're going to have to industrialize, the North wasn't a slaveholding area. They said, we're going to have to industrialize. The South, they went, we got slaves. We don't have any reason to industrialize. And they used the Bible because the Bible has descriptions in it of how you're supposed to treat your slaves. And that was how they were able to keep slaves for that long, despite the fact that most people at that point in time, even Southerners, were against it. Did you know that President Abraham Lincoln won the vote in the southern states too? How fucking amazing is that? The southern states, where less than 1% of the population owned slaves. And for that 1% of the population, over 400,000 Southerners who had never owned a slave, many of them never even owned shoes, were forced into slave labor. A different kind of slavery, though, the draft. We're not going to enslave you to force you to build things for us now. We're going to enslave you to force you to go kill people for us so that we can keep our slaves. But then they played on pride. Southern pride. You got your asses kicked. Here we are, well over 100 years later. Well over 100 years later. Elijah Best typed, but the slaves weren't allowed to read. Southerners wanted to spread that bullshit that black people are primates, that they're basically monkeys, and monkeys can't read. That's the racist bullshit that they had to deal with back then. Now we know different. Of course, the South made laws that made it illegal to teach a person who was a slave to read. By the way, at the time, black people were not the only slaves in the South. Yes, there were white slaves in the South at the time. There were black slaves. There were Native American slaves. But we don't want to pay attention to that, do we? Because it doesn't fit our narrative. Anyway, Elijah Best typed, but slaves couldn't read, so they were only going off what they were told. You're right. I'm not sure how many of y'all know about Vincent van Gogh. Did you know that he went to something called seminary? This is basically he went to school to become a preacher, to become, in specific, a Catholic priest. So why didn't he? He decided to protest. He protested the fact that Mass was only done in Latin, and the common people didn't know Latin. Matter of fact, it was illegal for the common person to learn Latin when Vincent van Gogh was trying to become a Catholic priest. Vincent van Gogh never became a Catholic priest because he thought that the common man should be able to read the Word of God himself instead of having it interpreted for him. I got to do something that almost no Christian I know has ever done. Most of the Christians I know have never read the Bible. A few of them have read and brag about the fact that they were able to get through half of it. But is that the something? No, it's not. The something that I did that they didn't, I read that whole book as a kid. I read the entire Bible at 6 years old. Most 6-year-olds are still having problems writing their name. I'm not going to pretend that racism doesn't exist, because it does. I'm also not going to pretend that the other victims don't exist. All right, this message is held for review. Apparently, Elijah Best just typed something that's extremely inappropriate. Let's see what he said. The Bible does not teach to be Christians. That's true. That is absolutely true. The Bible does not teach to be Christians. It teaches you how not to be an asshole to other people. It teaches you how not to offend people. How not to piss people off to the point that they declare war on you and yours. The 10 Commandments are great rules. The first 5 are for how not to offend your fellow man. The other 5 are how not to offend their opinions. If your opinion is that some ghost in the sky magically does everything for you, yeah, you're schizophrenic. You need to be taking some fucking pills. Why do I say that? How I get treated by the Christian community. When good men do nothing, that is evil enough. I'm going to turn this video off, and I might make a video about famous quotes about how, well, complacency in the face of evil is siding with evil. Complacency in the face of tyranny is siding with the tyrant. Both of those sayings are from people that everyone should know.